The mess hall of Colony Station Theta 6 was loud as always. Humans and aliens sat side by side, eating their dull space meals. Metal trays clanked. Voices rose in stories, jokes, and tired complaints. Carter sat alone at the far end. A tall man. Strong build, sharp jaw, with a long scar over his right eye. He didn't laugh. He didn't talk much. People respected him or feared him. No one really knew, but Carter noticed everything. That day, the air shifted. A strange spread. One by one, heads turned to the main doors. The laughter died. The guards had entered, not just any guards. Enforcers, tall, silver-armored aliens with blank, glowing eyes. They didn't speak unless necessary. When they walked in, everyone stayed quiet. Between them was a small figure. Weak, blue-skinned, old, hunched over. His feet dragged on the ground. His robes were torn. His arms were thin like sticks. It was Old Blue. Everyone on the station had seen him at some point, wandering, collecting scrap. Talking to himself, he was quiet, harmless, just there. But now, the enforcers were taking him out. No one knew why. No one asked until Carter stood up. He didn't rush. He just stood, picked up his tray, and walked across the room. Every eye followed him. No one moved. He stopped in front of the guards. They didn't react. Then Carter looked straight at the taller one and said, calm but firm, "He eats with me today." The guards didn't move. The old alien looked up at Carter, his eyes tired but surprised. The taller enforcer replied in a cold, robotic tone, "This creature is not allowed here." Carter didn't blink. "He eats with me," he said again, louder this time. "Right here, at my table." One of the humans nearby dropped his fork. It hit the metal floor like a gunshot. The guards paused. They looked at each other. One reached for his cum. But then, after a long silence, the lead enforcer said, 1 hour. Then he leaves. Carter didn't respond. He placed his tray on the table near him and pulled out a chair. "Sit," he told Old Blue. The old alien hesitated, then obeyed. Slowly he sat down. His fingers shook. His lips were dry. He looked confused, like he hadn't been treated kindly in a long time. Carter pushed some of his food toward him. Old Blue blinked twice, then started eating. Slow bites, careful, like he expected it to be taken away at any moment. The mess hall was still silent. No one dared speak. Minutes passed. Carter didn't talk. He just sat, watching him eat. But inside his head, memories spun like fire. 10 years ago. Warzone Gamma 12. Carter was bleeding out in the mud. His team was gone. His arm was broken. His suit leaking air. He was sure he'd die. Then. A blue hand touched his chest. Gentle. Warm. An alien. Quiet. Soft eyes. No words, just actions. He sealed the wounds. Gave him oxygen. Then disappeared. Carter never forgot those eyes. And today, he saw those same eyes in Old Blue. He didn't know if it was really the same one. But it didn't matter. That alien had saved his life. And this one needed saving now. After a while, Old Blue stopped eating. He looked at Carter and spoke in a rough whisper. "Why?" Carter didn't answer right away. Then he said, "You helped me once." "I remember." Old Blue stared at him. His eyes slowly widened. Maybe he remembered too. Maybe not, but something passed between them, something no one else in the room could understand. The guards came back. "Time's up," one of them said. Carter stood up. He looked at them, then at Old Blue. "He's staying with me." The guards didn't respond. Not with words. They just reached for their weapons. And the whole mess hall held its breath. Carter's bunk was small. Bare metal walls. No decorations. Just one bed, a locker, and a dusty old photo of Earth taped beside the light. Old Blue sat quietly on the floor, knees hugged to his chest. His breathing was slow. His eyes stared at nothing. No one had followed them yet, but Carter knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. He crouched beside the old alien and opened a packet of water. Handed it to him. Old Blue took it. Hesitated. Then drank. Carter sat back, arms resting on his knees. He spoke after a long silence. 10 years ago, a blue alien dragged me out of a bomb crater. Didn't speak, didn't wait. Just patched me up and disappeared. Old Blue said nothing. Was it you? Carter asked. The old alien blinked. His mouth twitched, but he didn't answer. Carter nodded to himself. Maybe it didn't matter, maybe he'd never know, but still. He'd chosen to help. That was enough. Just then, the lights flickered. Then, his door buzzed. Not from outside, but from inside the room. Carter looked at the wall panel. A message blinked on screen. Unauthorized communication blocked. He tapped it. It changed to one word. Stop. He stood up. Heart racing now. They're watching. Old Blue slowly turned to face him. He didn't seem scared, just tired, resigned. Carter moved fast. He opened his locker and pulled out a flat black box, an old war device, illegal now. It blocked surveillance. He slammed it on the table. The light turned green. Now they had 30 minutes of silence. No bugs, no cams, no scans. Carter faced Old Blue again. Why do they want you gone? The alien looked up and finally whispered, I remember you, soldier. Carter froze. So it was you? The old alien gave a weak nod. Then, shaking hands, reached into his robe. He pulled out a torn, crumpled data chip. Carter took it, plugged it into the wall console. A file opened. Project Whisper, Earth Military Command Sci-Fi. Carter's eyes narrowed. This was bad. He scrolled down. The screen showed images, maps, experiments, bodies. A photo stopped in cold. Blue aliens. Strapped to tables, injected, modified, tortured. And one of them looked just like Old Blue. Carter stepped back. His stomach turned. This was US. Old Blue nodded. You tried to use us. You failed. You ran. Carter shook his head slowly. Not me. I didn't know. The old alien didn't accuse him. He just said, but you remember kindness. That is rare. Among soldiers. Carter felt sick, angry, guilty. He looked at the chip again. There was one last file, a video. He played it. A General Earthborn. He was speaking fast. Project Whisper is dead. Burn it. Evacuate the labs. If the subjects escape, deny everything. They are no longer useful. Target for removal. Carter stared. This wasn't just about eviction. This was cleanup. Someone on this station had found out Old Blue survived. And now they wanted the past erased. Cliffhanger ending. Suddenly, the green light on the jammer blinked red. Carter's eyes went wide. They'd broken through. He turned to Old Blue. We have to go, now. But the alien didn't move. Instead, he whispered, if we leave, they'll come for both of us. The emergency lights flashed red, then dimmed back to white. Carter didn't wait. He grabbed Old Blue by the arm, not harshly, but firmly. The old alien was slow, but he followed without protest. Together, they slipped into the utility corridor. Behind his bunk, a hidden maintenance shaft most officers forgot existed. As they moved, Carter pulled out his old wristcom. It had one job now: scan for trackers and movement signals. The screen pulsed. They're scanning rooms, 2 floors above. We've got minutes. Old Blue stayed silent, but his pace quickened. They reached a steel hatch. Carter kicked it open. Dust spilled out, an old, unused route meant for waste disposal. He used it once to sneak past guards during a card game gone wrong. This time it might save their lives. Inside was pitch black. No lights, no sound. Just the two of them and the hum of distant fans. Carter tapped his wrist unit again. Switching it to off-grid mode, the screen didn't go dark. Instead, a message flashed. Code 17 Delta revoked Project Whisper. Activated all survivors equals T-Ceratus. Carter froze. This wasn't random. Someone had reactivated the very program that had been buried for a decade. That meant files had leaked. Or Old Blue had triggered something. He turned to the alien. "What did you do?" Old Blue looked at him with calm eyes. "I remembered." Carter pulled him deeper into the shaft. They exited near the lower service bay, a dark, empty hangar filled with broken drones, old mining gear, and scrap no one bothered to fix. Carter sealed the door behind them. He needed time to think. Time to figure out who was coming. And why this was happening now. Old Blue sat on a metal crate and began drawing on the dusty floor with one clawed finger. Strange curved symbols. Carter SQUINT. He recognized one. A spiral with 3 points. That's from Earth's deep code archives, pre-collapse data. Old Blue nodded. "It's not yours. You stole it." Carter didn't deny it. "You're saying this whole program came from your people?" The alien looked up. "Not mine. Older, lost. But the humans, they found a fragment and tried to copy." Carter remembered the files. The images of failed hybrids, implanted soldiers, exploding test subjects. They never figured it out. "Because it wasn't meant for control," Old Blue said softly. "It was meant for connection." Carter sat down, wiping his face. "Connection to what?" Old Blue didn't answer right away. Instead, he touched the back of his own neck, just below the skull. A faint glow appeared, pulsing through his skin. Carter stared. Then he felt it, a vibration in his own head. A voice, no sound. Just emotion, sadness, fear, loneliness. Then, "They're coming." Carter shot to his feet. The console in the corner blinked to life on its own. A single line appeared. "Human Carter, marked asset corrupted." "They tagged me," he muttered. "They think I've been changed." Old Blue looked at him with something close to pity. "They're right. You were changed when you showed mercy." That hit hard. Carter had been through wars, lost squads, seen aliens torch cities. But Old Blue was right. Something inside him had shifted back then, in that muddy crater. He never saw aliens as monsters after that. He saw them as people. That was his real crime. And now, the ones pulling strings wanted him erased for it. Suddenly, a voice came over the station's emergency speaker. "Carter, you have violated Command Code 8. Stand down. The creature will be terminated. You have 10 minutes." The voice was cold, familiar. Commander Huxley, his old superior. The one who shut down Project Whisper. Guess he didn't stay retired after all. Cliffhanger ending. Carter stood, jaw clenched. "I'm not letting them kill him." He looked at Old Blue. "But you have to tell me what they're really afraid of." The old alien closed his eyes and whispered, "They're afraid I'll wake it up." The access hatch groaned as Carter forced it open with a rusted crowbar. Behind it was blackness. Not just darkness, but that deep, old kind that smells like rotten metal. The kind of dark that hadn't seen light in decades. Carter held the beamlight low. The narrow tunnel stretched downward at a steep angle, just wide enough for a person to crawl through. He looked back at Old Blue. The alien nodded once. They descended. This wasn't on any map. Not even on Black Channel schematics. Carter only knew about it because once, long ago, a half-drunk engineer whispered something about the skeleton under the station. Back then, Carter thought he meant the past. Turns out, he meant something literal. The air grew colder the deeper they went. Pipes lined the walls, many cracked, hissing out faint gas. The floor was sticky. Silent. Carter's cum stayed dead the whole way. After 20 minutes of crawling, they reached it. A broken bulkhead door, marked with a fading red logo. Project Whisper, Sector 0. He wiped dust off the scanner panel. Still powered. Carter pulled out his wrist cum and overrode the lock with an old Earth Marine bypass code. The door groaned open, and the smell hit them like burnt oil blood. And old grief. They stepped inside. The chamber was wide like a hidden medical bay, but warped and decaying. Cryopods lined the walls, most shattered. A few still glowed faintly. Inside, corpses. Half human, half alien. Some didn't even look alive when they were alive. One had a face that looked like it. Screamed itself to death. Carter clenched his fists. This was a torture chamber. Old Blue didn't speak. He simply walked toward a central console long dead, but glowing as he approached. The screen flickered. A voice, female, synthetic, echoed softly. "Welcome back, primary subject 0. Carter turned to Old Blue, stunned. "You were the first?" The alien nodded slowly. The console lit up. A rotating 3D model displayed a neural network, not a computer, but organic. Alien, pulsing. Old Blue pointed to the center of the map. "This is not human. You found it buried in space rock. You studied it. You forced it into us." Carter watched the video log scroll. Earth scientists implanting fragments into volunteers. The subjects either going mad or vanishing. One survivor. Subject 0. Unresponsive. Disconnected. Left behind. Carter stared at Old Blue. "You survived. And they dumped you like trash." He looked around the room again. Cryotubes. Discarded lives. He spotted a small black chamber labeled nitrogen monoxide entry. A cracked keypad blinked red. Carter forced it open. Inside, a second console, surrounded by heavy shielding. Dusty, sealed in isolation. And floating inside a stasis jar. A neural core. Still alive. Still pulsing. Still glowing. Carter stepped closer. Suddenly, it blinked. Not flashed. Blink. As if it saw him. Then. Subject recognized. Companion of 0. Initiating link. Pain shot through Carter's head. He fell back, groaning. Visions flashed. Planets burning. Voices screaming. Blue hands reaching out. Soldiers dying. And a message burned into his skull. Connection. Possible. Carter ripped the neural cable from his wrist and stumbled back. Blood dripped from his nose. He looked at Old Blue. "It tried to connect to me." Old Blue stepped into the chamber. "Because you let it. That's what they feared all along." Carter sat down hard on the floor, breathing heavy. "What is it?" Old Blue placed one hand on the glass of the jar. A voice from the stars, not evil, not good, just waiting. Watching. Speaking only to those who listen. "And they tried to make it a weapon." The old alien nodded. "Humans always do." Suddenly, Carter's cum sparked to life. "You've gone too far, soldier." It was Huxley again. "I warned you. Leave the asset and walk away, or we make an example out of both of you." The connection cut. Carter stood, anger boiling now. "They're coming." Old Blue turned from the console. His voice low and steady. "Then let them come." Cliffhanger ending. Behind them, the core pulsed again. Once. Twice. Then it whispered, not in words, but in a voice inside Carter's mind. "Will you protect him?" Sirens didn't sound when the death order was given. Instead, the lights above Station Theta 6 dimmed to red. Then ... one by one. Entire sectors went dark. Power wasn't failing. It was being rerouted. Carter stood in the old lab's command bay, sweat on his face, fists tight. Old Blue was still staring at the pulsing neural core behind the glass. Carter's cum crackled alive again, just a whisper this time. Death Order 9 Alpha. Target, Human Carter. Asset, Primary 0. All units authorized for lethal action. They've marked me for execution. Carter muttered. Old Blue didn't react. He simply said, "They always kill what they fear." Footsteps echoed far above them, faint now, but closing. Carter spun toward the broken cryochamber wall, tore off a metal pipe, and attached it to his wrist rig. The pipe lit up with a crackling. FIELDA, makeshift. Shock blade. He knew how to fight, But not alone. He opened his come again, an old, secure line, one that should have been dead for years. "Jackal, you still owe me a life." Silence, then static, then a slow chuckle. "You're calling in a 10-year-old drink debt during a death order, Carter?" "I'm calling in everything." "Where?" "Dock 7, 20 minutes, and bring something fast." The line cut. Carter turned to Old Blue. "We've got one shot." The alien didn't move. "You touched the core. It knows you now." Carter didn't answer. His brain still felt scorched from the link. Visions, screams, cities turning to glass. He wasn't sure if they were memories or warnings, but one image stood out. A path. A door. A place beyond the station. Something wanted to be found. They moved through the underbelly of the station, forgotten tunnels, half-flooded chambers, rusted maintenance shafts. Everywhere above them, boots slammed metal. Drones scanned the air. Carter knew the hunt was on. Twice they had to freeze as black-armored enforcer squads passed overhead. These weren't just security. These were kill teams. They reached a control panel near the gravity vents. Carter tapped in a bypass. The ventilation shaft snapped open. "Shortcut to Dock 7. He said. Old Blue paused before entering. "If we run, more will die later. This thing," he pointed to his head, "it calls to more than you. You want to fight?" Carter asked. "With what? That glowing brain in a jar?" Old Blue didn't smile, but something in his eyes shifted. "No, with the truth." Dock 7 was nearly empty when they emerged. Carter dragged a tarp over Old Blue as they moved. The landing bay's main platform had a single ship on it, half-rusted, patched with salvaged alien parts. A bucket of bolts, but fast. The hatch hissed open, and Jackal stepped out. He was older now. Gray beard, half a leg made of scrap metal, eyes bloodshot, but still dangerous. "This what I'm risking my neck for? Some wrinkled space goblin?" Carter didn't bother explaining. "We need out now." Jackal looked up. He froze. The hangar's skylight turned red. Double quotes. "Ah, hell," he muttered. "They know." Above, 6 drop pods launched from the upper levels, like bullets falling from the sky. 10 minutes tops before they seal the port, Jackal said, running to the controls. Carter turned to Old Blue. "You still have that chip?" The alien nodded, slowly pulled it from under his robe. A second chip this time, one that glowed faint blue. Carter looked it over. "What's on this one?" Old Blue looked him in the eye. "Coordinates. To what?" "To where it sleeps." Before Carter could ask more, the skylight shattered. Enforcers dropped through with silent precision. Carter spun, shock blade ready. Old Blue stepped forward and raised both hands. Then he began to glow. A deep, pulsing light spread through his skin. The enforcers hesitated. Just for a second. And that's all Carter needed. He lunged forward. His blade slammed into one enforcer's chest, shorting his armor. Another swung. Carter ducked, rolled, kicked a crate into his leg. Jackal yelled from the ship. "We're leaving now or never." Old Blue collapsed. The glow faded, but the enforcers stopped moving. Not dead. Frozen. Carter grabbed the alien, hoisted him over his shoulder, and sprinted to the ramp. As they lifted off, the stations speakers blared one final warning. If the subject reaches space, initiate station purge. Cliffhanger ending. Carter stared through the window as the station shrank behind them. Then he looked at the chip in his hand and whispered, "Where the hell are we going?" Old Blue, weak but smiling, whispered back, "To wake up the voice your people buried." Asterisk shook as it broke atmosphere, but Carter barely noticed. His hands were soaked in blood, not his. Old Blue lay on a stretcher in the medbay corner, still glowing faintly. Breathing shallow, skin cracked, like something inside him was burning out. Carter paced, fists clenched. He'd seen death. He'd made peace with it. But this wasn't a normal death. This was erasure. Quiet, official, sanitized murder by the same people Carter once trusted. Jackal's voice called over the speaker. They've locked Dock 7 down. No one gets in or out. Whole station's on emergency lockdown. They're calling it a bio-threat containment drill. Carter barked a laugh, bitter. We're the threat now. Jackal didn't reply. He didn't need to. Carter turned back to Old Blue. The alien's eyes flickered open. Faintly. You said it calls to others. How many? Old Blue's voice was dry, cracked. More than you know. Some already hear it in their dreams. Carter leaned close. Then help me stop this. I can't fight a war alone. Old Blue raised a trembling hand. Reached toward Carter's chest. Then stopped. There's still one more voice you need to wake. 15 minutes later, the ship docked again, this time through an old emergency port Jackal found in the forgotten blueprints. It led directly beneath Dock 7's command chamber, the heart of the lockdown. Carter climbed out. Alone, Jackal gave him one last look. You sure about this? No. Good. Means you're still human. Inside the dock's upper level, a dozen enforcers stood ready. Guns primed, helmets down. Cold and quiet. At the center of them stood Commander Huxley, gray suit. Clean. Boots. Face like stone. And behind him, something massive. A containment pod 7 feet tall, glowing red. Inside it, a second neural core. But this one wasn't dormant. It pulsed like a heart. Huxley spoke without turning. I gave you a choice, Carter. You chose a dying alien over your entire species. Carter didn't move. This whole station is sitting on a voice older than Earth itself. And you wanted to weaponize it. Huxley turned slowly, calm. Cold, not wanted, already did. You think you're the only one it connected to? Carter blinked. What, then? The pod opened. And someone stepped out. A human. No older than Carter. Pale. Skin, black veins. Eyes like fireflies. Meet Subject 13, Huxley said. He's what happens when we don't run from the voice. But embrace it. The creature smiled. Then it spoke inside Carter's mind. You're late. Carter reacted fast. Drew his shock blade and lunged. But 13 moved faster. With a flick of his hand, Carter was thrown against the wall. Pain shot through his ribs. 13 stepped closer. You touched the old core. It marked you. You could have been like me. Carter coughed. No thanks. He forced himself up just in time to see the blast doors open. Old Blue was standing there. But something was different. His glow wasn't faint anymore. It was bright. Alive. 13 froze. Then his voice wavered. 0? Old Blue stepped forward, no longer frail. He raised his hand, and for the first time, the station trembled. Lights shattered. Consoles sparked. Gravity stuttered. Carter looked around. What the hell is happening? Old Blue answered in a voice not entirely his own. You taught the voice to kill. I remember what it meant to heal. 13 screamed. He charged. But Carter met him halfway. Blade against fire. Fist against fury. Old Blue raised his hands and sent a wave of light straight into the neural core behind Huxley. It shattered. Sparks exploded. And in the chaos, Carter slammed 13 into the glass and held the blade to his throat. You feel big now? 13's eyes flickered, then went dark. He collapsed. Just a human again. Cliffhanger ending. Carter dropped the blade, turned to Old Blue, who was now on his knees. You did it. But Old Blue shook his head. No, we only stopped one voice. The others still whisper. Behind them, the backup sirens began to scream. Purge protocol. 5 minutes. Carter looked at Jackal's unit. Then at the sky. We're not done. 5 minutes. That's what the station AI said before full purge. 5 minutes until every airlock opened. Every reactor vented. Every room became a tomb. Carter didn't waste a second. He grabbed Old Blue, who was barely conscious now, and slung his arm over his shoulder. The old alien's glow had faded again, but something still flickered under his skin. Like a fading star refusing to die, they staggered down the corridor. Jackal's voice came through the cum. Doors are jammed. External force field won't. Drop, I can't get you. Carter pushed forward anyway. We're not dying here. Behind them, the emergency lights flashed blue now. Blue meant final countdown. 3 minutes. They reached the escape lift. Broken. Carter cursed. Turned right toward an old drop hatch leading to the waste disposal duct. It wasn't safe. But it was open. He shoved the hatch wide and tossed a smoke grenade in. No alarms, still vented. It would work. He looked at Old Blue. You got anything left? The alien opened one eye. Only if you ask nicely. Carter smiled for the first time in hours. Please. Old Blue touched the wall beside the hatch. His fingers glowed faintly. Then just for a moment, the purge warning halted. 1 second, 2, 3, a glitch? No, a gift. Carter pulled him. Through the tunnel. They fell into the lower bay. Jackal's ship hovered just feet above the landing pad. Get in, Jackal yelled. We've got 30 seconds. Carter threw Old Blue inside and followed, slamming the hatch shut. The ship roared. Vents burst open behind them as fire and gas exploded outward. From above, Colony Theta 6 tore itself apart, metal panels shredding. Drones crashing, systems melting into themselves. The AI tried to kill them. The station tried to erase them. But the ship? It lived. 2 hours later, silence. Stars drifted past the viewport like soft snow. Carter sat across from Old Blue in the cargo bay, a small table between them. 2 meal packs. Warm, barely edible, but it was food. Old Blue picked at his tray. Carter pushed his half toward him. You eat with me. The alien paused. Looked up. A small smile crossed his face. They sat in silence. For once, no alarms, no death orders, no enforcers. Just 2 survivors. Jackal entered, chewing on a stick of gum like he hadn't just risked death. We heading back to Earth? Carter shook his head. Not yet. Jackal raised an eyebrow. Then where? Carter slid the chip across the table. The glowing blue one. The one with the coordinates. Where the voice sleeps. Jackal stared at it. You sure? Old Blue spoke softly. It won't be asleep much longer. They reached orbit around a dead moon 4 days later. No satellites. No markers. Not even dust. Just stone. But Carter knew the place. He'd seen it in that flash from the core. A memory, or a map, or a warning. They landed. The air was thin. The sky was black. Carter, Old Blue, and Jackal stepped out. The wind didn't howl. It whispered. Low and steady. Like a child breathing in sleep. Ahead was a stone door buried under ice and bone. Carter placed his hand on it. The ground shook once. Just once. And the door opened. Inside? A throne. Empty. Waiting. Alive. Final lines, emotional and mysterious. Carter turned to Old Blue. You still think I'm just a soldier? Old Blue's eyes glowed faintly again. No, you're something rarer now. Carter looked ahead, then smiled. Hungry? The alien nodded. Double quotes always. Together, they stepped into the dark. And behind them, the door closed. But not locked.